story time. And today I thought we'd hear some stories all about this kind of bird. What kind of bird is this? It's a penguin, of course. And our first story is called If You Were a Penguin. Do you think you'd like to be a penguin? Let's read and find out what it would be like. This book, If You Were a Penguin, is written by Wendell and Florence Minor, and it is published by HarperCollins Books. And it says, if you were a penguin, what could you do? Here we see a grown-up penguin and two baby penguins. Let's see what you could do if you were a penguin. You could fly underwater. Penguins don't fly, do they? No, they're one bird that doesn't fly, but they can swim so fast underwater, it's like they're flying underwater. Or you could sing a duet. Two penguins singing together. You could live on the land, but still get really wet. There they go swimming. You could wear a tuxedo or make funny faces. You could swim in warm or cold places. Did you know that? Some live in very warm places, but some like it very, very cold. And if you're in a warm place, you could live underground or on top of the ice. That's the cold place, isn't it? Penguins all around make it twice as nice. Penguins like to hang out with other penguins. They're friends. You could have funny names like Chinstrap. Does he look like he's wearing a chin strap? Or Gentoo. You could learn to toboggan. Woohoo! Oh, they're sliding on their bellies. They don't need a toboggan. You could wear fancy feathers in dry or wet weather. Wait, those are pretty fancy, aren't they? You could eat squids and fishes without any dishes. There's a mama feeding the baby penguin. But here's the surprise for me and for you. Penguins do a lot of things that you can do too. Right? Some of the things we heard they do, you can do. They swim. Maybe you like to go swimming. Maybe not right now. It's a little cold out. And they sing and they hang out with their friends and do other fun things. So, doesn't sound too bad to be a penguin. Okay, well, here's a penguin that's a little different. This penguin's name is Tacky. And our book is called Tacky the Penguin. And this book is written by Helen Lester, and it's illustrated by Lynn Munsinger, and it's published by Houghton Mifflin Press. So here's our friend Tacky. There once lived a penguin, and his home was a nice icy land that he shared with his companions. His companions were named Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect. But his name was Tacky, and Tacky was an odd bird. He does look a little different than his companions, doesn't he? Every day, Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect would greet each other quietly and very politely. Hello, how are you today? But Tacky would greet everybody with a hearty slap on the back and a, hey, what's happening? Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect always marched in straight lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But Tacky, when he marched, it was more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. Not very straight and neat. And his companions were very graceful divers when they dove into the water. It was nice and neat, but when Tacky dove in, oh, Tacky liked to do big, splashy cannonballs. Look out when he dives in. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect always sang pretty songs like Sunrise on the Iceberg. But Tacky, well, Tacky always sang songs like How many toes does a fish have? Yeah, Tacky was an odd bird. You see, his friends are covering their ears when he sings. One day, the penguins heard a thump, thump, thump of feet in the distance. This could only mean one thing. Hunters were coming. Uh-oh. And they came with maps and traps and rocks and locks, and they were mean and tough and rough. And as the thump, thump, thump got closer, the penguins could hear the hunters chanting, and they said, "We're going to catch some pretty penguins. We'll march 'em with a switch. We'll sell 'em for $1 and get rich, rich, rich." Well, Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect ran away in fright. They hid behind a big block of ice. And there they are, hiding. But guess who didn't hide? There's our friend Tacky. Tacky stood all alone in front of the hunters. And the hunters marched right up to him, and they said, "We're going to catch some pretty penguins. We'll march 'em with a switch. We'll sell 'em for $1 and get rich, rich, rich." Well, Tacky just went up to the hunters, gave them a slap on the back, and said, "Hey, what's happening?" Well, they growled and said, "We're hunting for penguins. That's what's happening." Tacky said, "Penguins? Oh, do you mean those birds that march in nice, neat rows?" And he started to march. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. The hunters looked a little bit puzzled. Tacky said, "Do you mean those birds that dive gracefully into the water?" And Tacky dove in and did the splashiest cannonball ever. The hunters were soaking wet. And Tacky said, "Do you mean those birds that sing such pretty songs?" Well, Tacky began to sing, and from behind the block of ice came the voices of all of his companions, but this time they sang as loudly and dreadfully as they possibly could. And they sang, "How many toes does a fish have? How many wings on a cow? I wonder, yes, I wonder." Well, the hunters couldn't stand the awful noise. Oh my goodness, this horrible singing. This couldn't be the land of the pretty penguins. They ran away with their hands clasped tightly over their ears, leaving behind their maps and traps and rocks and locks, and not looking very rough or tough at all. There they go. They couldn't get away fast enough. And there's Tacky, and now his friends have come out from behind the ice where they were hiding. And Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect gave Tacky a big hug. They said, "You know, Tacky is an odd bird, but sometimes it's nice to have an odd bird around." And that's the story of Tacky the penguin. He's a little different, but he's a nice bird. Well, I have 4 nice birds here. Let's see. Make sure. Are they all here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And what are these penguins doing? Why, they're riding on a sled. And you know what? These penguins are going to have the same problem as 5 little monkeys that you may have heard about. Did you ever hear about the 5 little monkeys? They don't ride on a sled, but they jump on the bed. And then you know what happens to them? I bet you do. If you do, and even if you don't, you can say it along with me as we do our little rhyme about 4, not 5, 4 little penguins riding on a sled. And this is how it goes. 4 little penguins riding on a sled. Whee! One fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more penguins riding on a sled. But we still have 3, 1, 2, 3 little penguins riding on a sled. Whee! One fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more penguins riding on the sled. Now how many are left? 1, 2. Can you say it with me? 2 little penguins riding on the sled. Whee! One fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more penguins riding on the sled. But we still have 1 little penguin riding on the sled. Whee! He fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more penguins riding on the sled. They all fell and bumped their head just like those monkeys. Oh my goodness. Let's do one more quick story about penguins. This is kind of a fun one. This is called Penguins, and it's by Liz Pichon. I hope I said her name right. And it's published by Orchard Books. Now, these penguins, you see right here, they're all standing around looking at something. Let's see what's going to happen. These penguins live in a zoo. And here they are. It's morning time at the zoo, and the penguins are up, and they're going for their first swim. Penguins do like to swim. We learned that, right? Everyday penguin activities include the following. Penguins like to swim every day. They like to eat fish every day. They like to play penguin games with other penguins. What else do they do? Oh, some penguins like to sleep standing up. Can you sleep standing up? I don't think I could. And they like to look at people. And they like to look at more people. Because remember, these are penguins that live in a zoo, so they see lots of people. But on rainy days, the penguins don't do much at all because nobody comes to the zoo. But when the sun shines and people come, it's fun, fun, fun. Now, something important is happening in this picture. We see our penguins having fun, playing in the water, and we see people watching them, but we also see this little girl has just dropped something into where the penguins are. Let's find out what's going to happen. Well, after all the people have gone home, a little penguin noticed something. Don't touch it, says Mother. Somebody will be back for it. And he sees something sitting on the rock. But nobody comes back, so the little penguin goes closer to get a better look. Why, he says, he goes over and picks it up and says, it's a camera. Well, what do you do with a camera? The other penguins asked. Why, you smile at it, said the little penguin, grinning. Right? When you see people pointing cameras at other people, usually they're smiling at the camera. Are you sure you can't eat it? Asked the hungry penguin. I don't think we'd want to eat a camera. A baby penguin jumps on the camera and starts pushing all the buttons. Oh my goodness. And the camera goes flash, flash, flash. And when it does, they all get bug eyes from staring at that flashing light. Their eyes bug out. Okay, everyone waddle over here and line up, said the little penguin. Okay, they reply, because he's going to look through the little hole in the camera, and he looks at them, and he says, what do we do, the other penguins say? He says, you look at the camera, and you say, what do you think he said to say? He said, you say, fish. Because they're penguins, right? So instead of saying, what would you say? Would you say cheese? Yeah, that's what I usually am told to say. But they say fish. And they smiled, and the little penguin took their picture. Click. And then all the penguins wanted to use the camera and wanted to take pictures. So click, click, click. They kept taking one picture after another, lots and lots. And the camera was flashing. But then suddenly, the camera stopped working. Oh dear, said Mother Penguin. You'd better put it back now where you found it. So he took the camera and put it back on the rock where he found it. And early the next morning, the zookeeper came in to feed the penguins, and he saw the camera. He said, I'd better take this back to the lost and found. And pretty soon the camera was returned to that little girl who dropped it. Your camera is not broken, said the zookeeper, but the penguins seem to have pecked at it a little bit. Oh, that's okay, said the little girl. I love penguins. So she gets her camera back and she takes it home. And a few days later, she looks at all the pictures that were on it, and she sees pictures of all the things she took, like the monkeys at the zoo and elephants. I guess there were tigers. And then she says, but I never took all of these pictures. She said, where did they come from? Do you know who took all of these pictures? Of course you do. There's one with bug eyes. There's somebody upside down. There they are, all smiling at the camera. The penguins took all those extra pictures. So now she's got lots of cool pictures of penguins along with her other animal pictures. That's the story. Oh, penguins. Okay, one more thing we're going to do. Now, you saw those little penguins that were riding on the sled and fell off and bumped their head. I made these little penguins, and you can make some too. Do you know how? I'll show you how. It's very simple. You can draw a penguin. Would you like to learn how to draw a penguin? Okay, we're not going to draw a hat on. You can make your hats later if you want to, but I'll show you how to draw the penguin. And it goes like this. I'll just stick him up on the side there. And oh, let me bring that over so you can see it. Okay, here we go. We have this big board with a piece of paper, and our penguin is two basic shapes with a few things added on. Now the first thing you have to do is draw a circle. Can you draw a circle? Just how's a circle go? It goes right around, right? We won't make it too big because the first circle is going to be our penguin's head. So if you have a piece of paper and you have a pencil, a crayon, a marker, whatever you have, draw a circle that would be a good size for a penguin's head. There's a circle, right? You got it? Now, for his body, he gets basically another circle. Maybe it's a little more like an oval. You know, an oval shape, like an egg shape, a little bit longer and round, not just round in a circle. So let's do that. We'll start under here. There's his chin. And let's see if we can do an oval shape. So make it long and around, back up to the top. He's a little sideways, this penguin, but that's okay. All right, so what else does our penguin need? Well, if he's going to swim, he needs, even though he can't fly, he still needs his wings, his little flippers. And they're almost not quite a triangle shape, but they come out and go back. There you go. And we do the same thing on this side. We do the same thing. We just go out and go back. And they're not perfect, but close enough. What else does he need? Let's give him some feet. We'll give him a couple toes. Now we could just do a simple foot. We could do another oval for a foot if you want, like that. Or if you want to get a little fancier, we could do that and make some toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So since I did that one that way, I better make them match, right? Or try to match them. There we are. Okay, so he's got some little toes, some little feet. He needs a face. Oh my goodness, of course he does. Let's give him some eyes. How many eyes should we give him? 2? I think 2 is a good number. And again with circles, 1, 2. This time they're smaller circles. And let's fill in a little eyeball on each one. 1 there and 1 here. There's his eyes. Now his beak, his nose, is basically a triangle. So maybe a long triangle. So do the top and then longer for the beak part. And he's just about done. Did you make a penguin like that? I bet you could do it. Let's fill in now. Oh, I forgot another circle. One more circle. We got lots of circles here. His tummy, right? Because he's black and white. So the middle part, this circle will stay white. Or sort of an oval again. So what you're going to do now is color him in. And unless you want a purple penguin or a orange penguin, most penguins are black and white, but it's your penguin, so he could look any way you want. I'm not going to color him all in now because that'll take too long for me to fill them all in. But you'll color in his wings, all whatever color you want to make them. And you'll color in his body. Again, I'm just giving you the idea, but not filling him in. Okay, it'll take too long to do all that. Just like this one. And let's do a little bit around his head, a little extra black around his head. So we're just going to, right inside the one circle, we're just going to do a little more black and fill that in until it looks right. I don't know. This is not a perfect penguin by any means, but you get the idea, right? There's his head. And I'll probably make his feet and his beak kind of an orange color, maybe even color his eyes, I don't know. But there's our penguin. Isn't he cute? And I think yours is even better. So, whoop, this board's a little big. Okay, putting this back here, putting our penguin back there. Later, if you make a penguin, you could cut him out and maybe put a little popsicle stick or a straw or something behind him, so you could have a little walking, dancing penguin. Maybe you can make a whole family of penguins. Or if you want to make them a hat, well, basically a triangle shape, right, with a circle on top. And cut out a hat and glue it on them. Lots of things you can do with your penguins. So I hope you have fun playing with your penguins. I hope you enjoyed the stories. And we'll see you again for story time with the Euster Hout Free Library. And I'm Miss Elaine saying goodbye.